Well, welcome back to the EU Challenger Summer Qualifiers. We're refueled, and hopefully the teams are too, because we're about to kick off Game 2 of this series between DNL and Nihilo. And, wow, what a first game, right? Like 50-minute games, almost an hour-long game. And it's awesome to see a game where it's not so much about the mistakes that the team makes, but the trades that they make and the decisions they make. There was never really an incorrect decision. It was what the teams decided to go for, which decided the game, not because this decision was wrong to go here.
Yeah, I agree. So it was a super close game with a lot of objectives traded, and I guess on the macro level, there was a lot of capitalization on objectives being available rather than denying objectives a lot, which is an interesting one because generally you have to do both, right? You've got to take an objective, but stop giving anything away at the same time. And it's interesting that neither team really focused on denying objectives because you could tell how just as the game has evolved with the 5th Dragon buff, with the ability now of Baron, you obviously can just push waves and just shove them straight in. If you get both of them, it's kind of crazy. But the fact that Denial were able to get so many dragons throughout the game just completely punished Nihilo at the end, and they have to fix that for this game.
So do you think like Nihilo could have done more once they were committed to going for tower objectives rather than dragons? Could they have pushed their advantage more? Because we did raise the point midway through the game where they were going a little too far. Like Impaler died in the mid lane, being a bit too greedy. They dove the turrets trying to take a little bit more from their advantage. Was it just a matter of pulling back a little bit, holding their punches, or did they need to be more proactive in different ways? So
I kind of feel like they picked the Diana very early on in their pick and ban phase, and that didn't scream to me that they wanted to split push. I would have been interested to see if any other champions would have done anything there. If you knew you were going to run a split push style, which kind of tells me that maybe wasn't so much of the intention until the entire lineups had locked, and they locked both teleports in. So I would be interested to see whether Nihilo can do something different in this game and look for a different composition style, because I don't think they fully intended to do that from the beginning of the game.
Okay, well, we're going to see if that is indeed the case here. Stress as we get into this one. We're going to head right into Champion Select and see if indeed Nihilo does go for a different type of composition, or they just try and go for that one once again. And whether Tune-Up changes as well, because Jinx really does help when it comes to objective trading, and maybe one of the reasons why they went for towers. But Azir will be banned out here along with Alistar from Denial, and then Kalista will be banned away from Ralaz along with Siri as well. So banning those 2 AD carries just like the first game.
Yeah, pretty much exactly the same as Game 1 of this series. Interesting thing to note, this time we will be alternating sides. So we will not have one team all on the red side like we did in the last game. This time though, Godbro should be able to get his counter pick, but ooh, Rise banned on blue side.
Okay, yeah, interesting. So what do Denial want to first pick here as they banned out the Rise?
I mean, you would assume that Nihilo right now have said, okay, we'll ban Gragas, we'll give you Rek'Sai because we want something else for ourselves. Now I'm trying to think of what was available last game that wasn't picked. Now it also goes down to Impaler to play something else in the jungle that can fight up against this Rek'Sai. Normally what we've seen teams default to would be the Evelynn, but I feel like Impaler is more of a Nunu player when it comes to things. We've seen Nunu from time to time, so maybe that'll be his champion of choice out of the jungle. Would synergize well if Tune-Up was playing, you know, a later game scaling AD carry, but certainly there's a lot available should Impaler want to pick it. It just depends on exactly what he wants.
Well, this is a little just straight up conservative right here. They do secure the Maokai for the top lane and do have the Lulu as well, just in case, again, they go for a big late game carry. Yeah,
that's exactly what Nihilo are looking for here, is if they can get a late game carry, this time Tune-Up. His positioning was so good for the most part of that game, right up until the end when he was pushing forward with the Lulu shields on him, which even then isn't the worst play in the world. You can still get a lot of damage down. He just didn't account for the engage coming back in on him, and Rale's kind of Valkyrie flashing with a phosphorus bomb.
Yeah.
So this, again, a lot of peel here. Xaxus is going to be on the Maokai. Lulu still could flex either support or mid lane. They did that in the previous Champion Select as well. Denial looking for top lane, could opt for the Gnar again if they wanted it. Gnar into Maokai, a little bit less straightforward a match as into the Hecarim, but still certainly a matchup they could look to go for.
Okay, so DNL do lock in the next 2 picks, which will be Corki and Fresh for their bottom lane, this time opting away from the Janna. That was picked very early on as well, interesting enough. Fresh will be the supportive choice for Winnover this time around.
Very interesting, actually, that nobody is opting for Urgot at this point. Urgot typically, again, Kalista Sivir banned away. Urgot, known to be kind of the next tier of AD carry. Corki, not in the AD carry meta at all, really, for Europe or North America when you look at it. Mr. Rales seems to be kind of hanging on to Corki more so than a lot of other players. And that's not to say it's a bad pick at all. Just people moved away from playing around the Corki Trinity Force spike because it was so clear that other AD carries just had a better early game and a better late game.
Yeah, yeah, it's just like, looks like to be what they want to just run around with the team in the same way that Nihilo as well, because if they are looking to run a Jinx, as they lock in Jinx and Nunu, then if they don't want to run like a different type of thing, like an Urgot, like that is fulfills a very different role.
Yeah.
Then that's their reason. And then if Mr. Rales just want to move, doesn't want to move away from the Corki, then that's their reasoning too.
So Impaler played a lot of Nunu when he was a member of Coast, and not to drag up a particularly tough time, but Coast did not do so well in the North American LCS.
That's not debatable.
And part of it was because of the fact that they never got anything in the early game, really. A couple of games, a handful maybe, they got a lead early game, but couldn't hold it. The problem with Nunu is you have great kind of PvE early game, but your actual ability to impact the enemy team is a lot lower unless you're counter jungling all the time. So need to see Impaler get into the enemy jungle. Jinx again for chewed up, I think, is a good pick, and that's a mid lane Kog'Maw coming out from Denial. So they're going to have a lot of range this time from their mid laner.
Yeah, so of course the Nunu just wants to really control the vision in the early game and just be a pest for the enemy jungle. But with that Gnar going into the top lane as well, we will have the Gnar and the Maokai matchup. So we did touch on that briefly before as we were talking about Hecarim. But yeah, Kog'Maw in the mid lane now for Kozaku. And we are just finally waiting for this very last pick from Nihilo.
I wonder, are they going to go for something with a lot of crowd control from the mid lane or support here? Because if you can lock down the Kog'Maw, he becomes a lot less of a problem. Could they look for something? I'm looking at what's available. You don't want to pick anything like a Cassiopeia that's fairly short range, because that'll never get there with the ultimate. So maybe they look to flex this Lulu. We thought about it earlier when they locked it in. Still a lot of possibilities. But then again, they have a Maokai to get into the back line should they be looking.
Oh, they're leaving this late for sure. Oh, they even lock in a support. Okay, Noxiat gets his hands on Leona. This is putting all your eggs in a very chewed up shaped basket.
But when Noxiat joined the LCS, one thing was noted about him, that he is a Leona player. He's one of the few in Europe that really is just known for his Leona. So I'm looking forward to that. But clearly, as you said, a lot on chewed up. And for how we played for most of last game, Nihilo should be happy with that, but they've got to watch his positioning in the late game.
Yeah.
And on the other side, Denial, they have a lot clearer composition, so much clearer when it comes to actually sieging towers. Clear power spike, Denial off the Trinity Force and Sword Boots, and Kozaku getting level 11, getting the Luden's Echo. So there's very clear goals from both teams here. Which one can execute better?
Yep, that's pretty much the name of the game as we get into this one, Stress. It's very interesting that Nihilo went for this one, because they did have a protect the Jinx comp, but they had the threat in the mid lane last time.
Yeah.
And that threat was great from Godbro. Even in one of the Baron fights, I remember, where he was literally zoning Rales, and he was the only thing keeping him back from killing Tudup at the time. This time they have a Lulu to put more protection on that. We'll see how that works out, because it's a very different in terms of what they were looking for from last game and this game.
It is very different indeed.
Yes, sir. So let's get into this one. The second game of this best of three. If the first one was anything to go by, this one should be just as awesome as well. 1-0 is Denial. They are one game away from securing their spot in the summer split of the European Challenger Series. Nihilo, however, will have to win 2 games on the bounce, or if they do drop a game here, we'll have to face the losing team from earlier tomorrow in the 3rd place game and try and take down Mausen. Then they can secure the last remaining spot. But we're not there just yet. Nihilo do have the ability to win this game and even up to 1-1.
That will put us in a very, very tense 3rd game, especially if this game is anywhere near as close as the last one. You know, I was kind of looking at people's feedback on the last game, and everybody was kind of like, man, that game could have gone either way the entire way through, and that certainly was the case. This time, I feel like Nihilo may have their work cut out for them. Ooh.
70% over to Nihilo.
And that's interesting when you take into account, purely based on Twitter analytics, Wicked has quite a lot of followers. Interesting that Nihilo are coming out with the fan vote. Yeah,
I mean, you're right with the game, the last game looking so even up until the final team fight.
Yeah.
It was literally a coin flip. So yeah, as we get into this one, Nihilo can definitely take this game. The fans are behind them for sure. Jinx hugging the very top of that lane, and we will have this straight up lane swap. So the Australian lane's coming out with the duo lanes now heading into the top lane. And neither of the top laners are anywhere near the bottom lane.
Yeah, they can just teleport in when they have finished doing the old jungling for the beginning of the game. But this is a play I actually really like. Impaler goes and invades on the strong side of the map for Nihilo. He's not trying to invade where the duo lane are not. They know they have the numbers advantage now, so he's going to take away the blue buff. This is a mistake that you actually see a fair amount of times in a lane swap, so he knows he has at least the security of his duo lane to keep Rales and Wendelboe up there, and that's a stun landing, but good damage returned here, and Impaler has got that blue and is going to back out. He's actually looking towards the top lane.
Oh wow, doesn't even look to try and secure all of these buffs for a potential triple buff start, looking for a potential gank into this early game. Mr. Rales is still level 1. He may have to burn a flash. They're actually going after Wendelboe. Great play backwards will knock them away. Does have to burn the flash and also the heal from Rales.
Good timing on the flash though by Wendelboe. He knew he had to flash early in that situation, because if the stun landed from Noxiac while he was level 1, there would have been able to have been a follow-up. Because Noxiac level 1, no Zenith Blade, couldn't close the distance, no stun means no kill for Nihilo. And it also will now make sure that Betong Yoke knows his blue buff is gone. Impaler needs to get himself to his red fairly quickly before Rek'Sai comes in and comes a knock-in for that.
But Betong Yoke didn't go for the opposing red buff. Or opposing blue buff, sorry.
Yeah.
So he's actually going to get triple buffed here and only have 1 buff to start the game.
He is, but that's one of the reasons why it's a little difficult, as Hook lands up in the top side. Not too much comes from it though, but that's one of the reasons why Impaler did this on the strong side, is because for Betong Yoke to go into the enemy jungle, he forgoes all the pressure his team have. But Godzuki in this middle lane, knocker, he's going to land, but nothing much is going to come from it, just a little bit of damage.
Too close to the turret at that point, was half a team away from getting the knockup, but yeah, as a result, can't immediately go for that blue buff, so Impaler actually just taking the leisurely route to his own blue buff, just taking the Wraith camp there as well, or rather the Raptor camp. That was a blast from the past, but so he'll be getting all of those over to his side, but Betong Yoke was able to go for those early camps, so he was level 3 for that gank in mid lane.
Nihilo seem to be reading the ward situation top here, because they know that Corki hasn't gone out to ward yet. He has one in his trinket slot. So they know they can engage on this, but a little bit of miscommunication here. Impaler wasn't doing anything in that situation, and they used the Zenith Blade first. I guess maybe they were just trying to get the Dark Passage used already to go in again. If they can get the timing on that, that could punish Mr. Rales quite a lot here, as Impaler is looking to come up back into that top side. Looks like Denial may know something's up.
Oh, and Wendelboe does not have flash either. Does get the play down once again, but look at all that CC, and also the Flame Chompers does land a death sentence onto Impaler, but it's going to be his own death sentence as he goes down for first blood, going over the chewed up. Meanwhile, in the mid lane, Betong Yoke knew that his counterpart was in the top lane, tried another gank mid lane, did manage to burn the flash this time onto Godbro, so did manage to get something in return, but it wasn't a kill.
But that's exactly what Nihilo needed at this point. They're playing a Protect the Jinx composition, so ooh, good damage from Zaz. So that is a great start from Nihilo. Good target focus as well. Knew that there was no flash on Thresh. Again, this is what MOUZ weren't doing in our first series of the day, is you get the summoner, you loop back around, you punish them for pushing without summoners, and that's exactly what Nihilo have done there.
And Zaz is going one-on-one against Wicked. It's just a fairly even matchup, just trading blow for blow, really. Small advances to Wicked, but nothing to write home about just yet. no one has gone back to base, just apart from Kozku, who has picked up his tier. So we'll be tracking that one again like we were before. Actually, it took 23 minutes until we saw the fully stacked tier in that game earlier when we saw the Cogmore. So we'll see if Kozku can do that a little faster this game. We'll be playing up against Lulu, who's not going to be exerting a whole lot of pressure onto a Cogmore in mid lane.
Yeah, not a whole lot, but you know, one of the things that that Power of Evil talks about a lot when it comes to this Cogmore mid is he has to survive the laning phase. He has to get to level 11, at least even. Otherwise, it is such a difficult matchup with any Cogmore to stay in. Yes, you can buy time and go late game with the extra range that Cogmore is going to get, but it certainly is a lot easier if at least you draw even. And with a Lulu as your lane counterpart, very little chance that a Lulu is going to out-damage you very early on.
So Zazas did go back and pick up the Catalyst. Impaler is here to annoy Kozku. Gets snowballed. He will be now slapping him on the back. Betong Yoka there is able to follow up though. Gets turned into a snowman, but will get the flay backwards from Wendelbo, who has roamed from the top lane. Godzuki does not have his flash, and he may be falling as the ultimate comes from the sky. Kozku picks up that kill. Impaler will have to flash away. Noxiac now roams into the middle lane, tries to get a bit of damage onto Betong as the snowball comes through. And Wicked was heading up to the mid lane just in case that trade went on for a bit longer. But so all Impaler wanted to do was annoy his opponent, but it cost him his mid laner's life.
It did cost him, as yeah, you can see Lulu not having too much ability to get away from that fight, and that's a great start for Denial's mid laner right now. Cogmore is going to be able to sit fairly happily. We'll take the Thresh Express out, and yeah, Kozku in this lane. Yeah, I was saying Lulu's not going to have all that much kill pressure against a Cogmore, but Cogmore certainly with his teammates in the lane is going to be able to do a fair amount to Lulu. But Impaler's invading here, getting some wards down fairly early on. They've got to be careful though, because collapsing on them is Wicked from this bottom side, and Wicked's getting close to transforming it. Noxiac's going to try and Zenith Blade his way out.
Oh, gets the hop though, and there's the Flame Chompers, does block off the rest of the team, locks them down. Chewed Up though gets Death Sentence. Oh, the flay onto two. Chewed Up face plants the wall. Noxiac as well. The flash from Wendelbo does manage to get down. The exhaust should be enough slow perhaps to pick up this kill. In fact, the flay will make sure it goes down, and Kozku finds it with the ultimate, the living artillery. 4-1. This is a very different game from what we saw earlier.
And just all of a sudden, Denial, they just capitalize on a mistake from Nihilo. They should not be invading at that point. With Chewed Up not being able to pressure Wicked in that lane, they left the lane with Noxiac from that bottom lane, crossed into the jungle, and Wicked just kind of walks over. Chewed Up didn't do anything to make sure that Wicked didn't enter that fight, and they didn't respect the Narb rage being built up either. So, man, that was not a great play out of Nihilo.
Well, we'll see how they recover as we get into this game. It's only 9 minutes in. There is a 2,000 gold advantage. Yes, Kozku is looking fairly beastly right now.
Yeah.
Has picked up that needlessly large rod from that fight, had about 1,900 gold to spend as he went back to base. So he's a pretty happy Cogmore who will continue to farm against the Lulu. And will be picking up the Blue Wolf as well. So Dragon is still on the board, may see an even earlier one this game. But Wendelbo will be the one helping him take that blue. In the top lane, or rather the bottom lane as they swapped around, 79 farm to 72. So not a big difference between the laners, but to be expected. Top lane, or rather the duo lane, is really where the biggest discrepancy has opened up with 79 to 59 between Chewed Up and Ralez.
Yeah, and it's because Ralez has just been sat in this top lane just farming while everything else was happening on the bottom side of the map. Really, there's no way of Nihilo to just forcing Ralez out from that lane. Yes, they have a Maokai, but Maokai Nunu is not really going to do too much to that. All Ralez has to do is wait out the Arcane Smash and just Valkyrie away once the W is down as well from Zazas. So there's not all that much they can do, and Chewed Up needs to get himself some farm up against this Gnar, but Wicked in Mega Gnar is going to have to back away, and the game suddenly slows down once again.
Betong Yoka opting towards the Warrior Enchant. Meanwhile, Impaler going for the pretty much standard, Cinderhawk. We did see a poacher's knife from Dan in the qualifiers.
Yeah, we did.
It lost.
Ooh,
well,
wow.
in the mid lane though, Godzuki, a lot of damage in from the living artillery. It is raining on Lulu's head and does not want any of that. There's another Prey Seeker just for the road home. Impaler is there just in case they follow up, or if they overextend as well. Lulu does have a bunch of damage in this early game. Just hit him with the snowball, gets him to tunnel away. And 5 gold in the bank to Impaler. Importantly
though, the pink ward died. They couldn't save their vision denying in that bush. That's going to be important. Every time that you can deny a pink ward from staying up for denial, they're just going to be able to start looking to take dragons again, especially with a composition like this where they have very definitive power spikes once Kozq's 11 in 2 levels time. But it's top lane Rales is getting engaged on. Well, Noxiac lands the engage here, the Zenith Blade into the stun. Zazuz as well gets the ultimate. There's the flash away from the solar flare. Wendelboe though is still trying to get followed up on. Impaler now comes in from the bot side, hits him with the snowball, tries to land the red buff. Teleport now coming in from Wicked, comes right into the fight with the Narbard charged up, in with the slam as well from the Wallop. Doesn't quite land it. Jinx Rocket from downtown just tags Kozq in the mid lane meanwhile, but the only casualty of that was Wendelboe. The other casualty is going to be the blue buff going over to Kozq. They know they can't secure that for Nihilo side of things, so kill picked up in the top lane in favor of Nihilo. Will go a little bit of the way to alleviating some of the pressure that is there, but flash in the bottom lane. Flash into the knockup, and the follow-up damage is going to be enough though. Looks for the tunnel perhaps onto Chewed Up, does land the Prey Seeker, actually decides to back off with the knowledge that Godzuki's coming in from the mid lane, and will be escaping with his life, so the aggressive flash didn't quite pay off. Absolute Zero used just to clear the wave, stop Wicked's push there. It's kind of important at that point because he had to buy time for Zazuz to get there because they want to save the teleport on Zazuz. That is why the ultimate was used, but Dragon is available. No one has taken one yet in this game, even though there has been a lot of focus around the top side. No team has really found the room to take down the first dragon of the game, but Denial have 2,000 gold lead as Betting ults back into the jungle. Now, you know, Nihilo know that that ultimate is not going to be available to cross distance if he shows himself topside on map again. So over the last 13 minutes, we've had a couple kills back and forth. There is a slight advantage now to Denial over farm and no turrets, but mainly just the farm and the kills. They do have that small advantage of around 2,000 gold. There's an advantage in every single lane in terms of CS, even in the jungle. Not for supports, but that doesn't matter too much. In the mid lane, do have the Luden's Echo at 13 minutes completed by Kozq, as opposed to the Fiend's Unholy Grail from Godbro. So he's in a pretty good place, and he's pretty much having a game of his life. He's getting blue buffs left and right, he's getting all the kills, he's getting all the farm. This is a really good play out from Nihilo when it comes to how they've got the map set up. So Leona helps Nunu for the beginning of the dragon, just that he doesn't drop too low from it. Zazuz, meanwhile, topside. Yeah, Betong looking to get on top of him. The tower is basically dead and is now dead, so now the follow-up onto Zazuz should be able to take him out here. Does have that ventral maelstrom, but it's only mitigating a little bit of damage. He actually jumps back in right into the wild grove, and it's super effective on a tree because Wicked just doesn't quite have the damage. Finally gets him with the last stack of the hyper, but now there's one-on-one in the bottom lane with Rales and Chewed Up. The last auto comes in with the Death Rocket, doesn't quite hit Rales, knocks it from the top side. What a good support, sets him up for the zap, takes him out, knocks out the real MVP of that one-on-one. Impaler gets those minions. And dodged the hook as well. That was just a series of good plays in favor of Nihilo around the map. Good roam from Godbro to get up to the top lane to make sure that Zazuz wasn't dying for nothing. Yes, they got the tower top side. It will be traded for the bottom side. The dragon went down to Impaler in the meantime, and it all stems from the fact that they Nihilo knew that Denial couldn't take a full team fight around the dragon yet, so they had to be spread around the map. Look, only the makings of the Trinity Force there. You could see exactly when Rales died was that 75 gold away from the Triforce being completed, so it's a minimal amount, but you can't sit in base for that long. Yeah. But, you know, it was just the fact that they could push mid in, stop Kozq from utilizing his item spikes that he'd just reached. He is now level 11 as well. They save the top lane, get the dragon. Well, they lose the tower, but save a bit of a fight and get the bottom lane tower themselves. So in Champion Select, you did say that it's very clear where Denial's power spike is. It's the level 11
is the item spikes as well, which he has. He has
Yep.
the Luden's Echo. Trinity Force is now picked up on Mr. Rallis. They have all of these factors that say, Denial, you should do things right now.
You know what they don't have, though?
What's that,
The
Stress?
ability to take Dragon. Because it isn't available. Because Ex Nihilo just took it. It was good timing from that.
You cannot kill that which has no life.
Okay, but you can't kill Impaler.
He does have a life, and he's about to not have one anymore. Tries to get the damage out, dazzes and knocks it. Plus, Godzuki is here to come in with the kill. They get a 1-for-1 retribution, but now Kozq just flash away from the Solar Flare, so he gets out alive.
And that flash is going to be incredibly important for the next fight. However, Rallis, he had just returned to that bottom lane, will take down a turret, but again, every time a turret dies, Chewdup is over on the other side of the map. This time he's got to be careful, though, because Wicked and Betangyoke are both here, so they're able to clear this away. Denial, again, taking an objective every time Ex Nihilo are getting something for themselves on the map, but honestly, this game, Denial have a big farm lead in all of their lanes, and that has opened up a gold lead between these two teams that Ex Nihilo are going to be struggling against.
Yeah, it will be a problem in the short term for sure. Chewdup really needs to start getting rolling because, yes, he's 2-1, but he's not hit a power spike at all. And he's also the main focal point around which this composition is really being created around. So they've got a long way to go before he's able to start 1v5ing with the support of his team. Yeah,
he's waiting on the 2-item power spike, so looking for the Infinity Edge and then the attack speed item on top of it. So right now, he is a lot weaker than Mr. Rallis when it comes to damage output. So Ex Nihilo do not really want to find themselves up against Rallis and Wendelboe in this situation unless they have somebody else there like Impaler, but Lantern, I don't think spotted Impaler in that situation because he didn't enter the bush.
Oh, nice ultimate right onto Wendelboe, though. We'll get the flame backwards, but it's not going to keep him alive with the Super Mega Death Rocket, finishing him off. Mr. Rallis now in full retreat. Still has his Valkyrie, still has his Flash and all of his summoners, so he's safe, but his support not so lucky for the 4th time in this game.
Again, though, Ex Nihilo are utilizing the lost summoners very well. A kill goes to Ex Nihilo, a tower goes to Denial. This is becoming a very predictable story from Denial. They are just pushing in towers every time they're giving Ex Nihilo just an inch of room.
And Noxiac heading back to base here. So yeah, the middle turret did go to Denial. The outer ring is now gone, but it will be a little harder now for Denial to take these inner turrets, whereas Ex Nihilo, they can carry on picking people. That's going to be better and better as we get further throughout this game. 1 minute 30 on this next dragon, 1 minute 20 on to the spawn of Baron.
So the only way it becomes better and better is if they continue to feed Chewdup and continue to get dragons every time. If they're just getting kill for tower every time, the towers are going to add up so much more for Denial than the kills will for Ex Nihilo. So the gold has to go to the right places and they have to get objectives off it because Denial have the lead and they have a composition that is a lot easier to pull off than Ex Nihilo's right now. There is, however, I'm not even going to say a time limit because we saw Mr. Rallis late game damage on Corki when all he had to do is blow up Chewdup, and again, all he's got to do is the same. The problem is, if the front line is too strong, if the zone control from Nunu and Maokai is too much, and they can never get to Chewdup, that will become a problem. Yeah,
there's a lot more in place this time around than there was last game. Noxiac as well will be great at peeling and engaging. So if they do pull ahead, they have a ways into a fight. Lots of hook not quite connecting onto Noxiac.
The other thing that Denial do have is a Cogmore from range. That's then going to test Chewdup's ability to watch not only his positioning, but his ability to dodge as well. Dodge the Cogmore ultimates, make sure he's not getting hit. And actually, Ex Nihilo were a little bit split up here, but Rallis wasn't in a position to really capitalize on that for Denial, so Dragon has just spawned. Both teams 5 stacked in this middle lane, but Ex Nihilo, this is all about peeling for Chewdup. A good team fight here would really slow down Denial's ability to fight because this is Denial's time to fight with this item spike. They have to wait out, or Ex Nihilo have to wait out Wicked's ultimate, though. They cannot engage while he's Mega now.
Yeah, Wicked is about to expire, though, and that's going to be a lot of time where there is a window for Ex Nihilo if they want to go for this fight or find a way into the fight where they will find them exposed and where Wicked can't quite output the optimum amount of Gnar This dragon has been started off by DNL though.
Yeah, DNL haven't landed too much poke, and with this composition, Impaler is just going to walk up and consume this.
And Zaz is just going to come in and start initiating. Down goes the dragon over to the Nunu. Noxiac is staying on the front lines against Wild Growth as well to stay alive. Betong is putting the damage onto Impaler.
Oh, that hook!
Just don't have enough. Oh, the hook all the way through the team fight onto Chudo has completely turned the fate of this fight. The double kill, the triple kill in from Rales. Everyone just died, all folding in. The Halter card fell down all around chewed up, all from that hook from Wendelbo.
An amazing hook. I need to see how that found its way through, and it looks like we're going to, because look, Impaler just walks up here. I don't actually know why Denial started this dragon and got it so low. Quite frankly, they didn't need to. At this point, Chewed Up gets a lot of damage down, gets his ultimate. The hook threads the needle through the gap. It's about to come up from Wendelbo. Yeah, Noxiac's backing off. Chewed Up just takes that hook, and look at the signal. Straight away, Denial know he is the only one from Nihilo that is going to be important in this fight. He goes down. Rales picks himself up a whole bunch of kills.
Now, that was a big swing now in this game, building towards that Blades of the Ruin King now as well on his way towards that. Middle tower just went down over to Denial. That was so good, and it looked so good from Nihilo up until that point. That was a curious start onto that dragon against the Nunu, who's just going to walk into you and take it. But either way, 2 dragons over to them. But this is 2 dragons over to Nihilo, but Denial did pick up those kills.
Yeah, I think the curious part about that really is that they started the dragon and guided down. Yes, they've got a composition that wants to siege, but then you don't want to siege with the objective far away from you. You don't want to back away, lower it down, and kind of give it easily over to the enemy team. So a little bit of a gift given away, but certainly Denial made Nihilo pay for that. What a hook.
Made of pain.
What a hook from Wendelbo there. But Nihilo may be looking to do what Denial did in the last game, which was hang on through dragons. And if there's a way to do it, that is certainly it. They're at 2 now. Let's not get ahead of ourselves too far, because there is a large gold lead in favor of Denial. 7,000 gold in their advantage, and Nihilo are playing a far trickier composition this time around.
Yeah, that's a challenge, a big play for sure. But this is actually the complete reversal of the first game, where the turrets have been going over, this time to Denial. Yeah. But Nihilo now picking up the dragons. There is a different part in this game in that DNL have picked up a lot of kills as well on top of that, and have a significant gold advantage, where last game gold didn't play a huge factor in opening up between the 2 teams. This time it has. Yeah,
and it's a lot of the gold difference is just CS. Also, I believe after that dragon fight, there were a couple of towers that went down in favor of Denial as well. So honestly, they're on a lot better position than Nihilo were in the last game. Chewed Up just took a lot of damage, and wow, Zazis is getting chunked.
The long-range poke followed by the autos in from Rales. Not Rales, Kozq. Lots of damage onto the Maokai. And the top tower is getting sieged in. Just one auto at a time from Rales. Eventually will take down that turret. Mid lane's pushing in as well. And Nihilo just need to try and clear out these minions. Stop the auto-attack poke and chips away from Rales. But this is exactly what Denial's composition is built for. Poking people with the Kog'Maw ultimate, getting the auto-attacks down, hitting them with the rockets. And it's so difficult to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, all Nihilo really have here is waiting for Noxiac to throw down his ultimate. If he can catch Kozq, that's what they're looking for, but they've been baited away from the turret. Wicked is about to transform as well, but they do find themselves going back in.
Whoa, they found Zazis, and that big tanky Maokai is going down very quickly. Just get hit by the Wild Growth, and that will take down Rales. That's a 1-for-1, but the more valuable member is dead. Chewed Up, it does too far forward, and the Wild Growth was already used. There was nothing else to protect him, and now the rest of the team will be chased down. Betong taking a couple tower shots. Impaler is on his way out, has bloodboarded himself, so despite them picking up Rales, Chewed Up just got caught.
Again, key crowd control abilities are landing square onto the only carry on Nihilo in this game. They've forgone the ability of Godbro and Zazis to carry and put it squarely on the shoulders of Chewed Up. But you'll see it again. Yes, they catch out Rales here, but it's Kozq that's very fed. They actually catch both of them with this Leona ultimate as Noxiac backs away. Zazis got chunked so hard to begin this fight as well. Denial, yes, they stack here and they get caught by a big ultimate, but the follow-up here from Nihilo, they're all so low. Godzuki right now is, yes, he picks up Rallis, but can't actually do too much forward. And then shoot up, it's all about stepping forward here next to this wall, and Wicked's just going to flash ult you every single day.
Yeah, held on to that ultimate just for the right time, just for when Tudor put a foot out of position. And again, another team fight goes over to Nihilo because of a mistake made mid-fight from Nihilo. Because the starts of these fights are always looking good for Nihilo.
Yeah.
Good ultimate here, a great initiate around the dragon, picking up the dragon even, but it's just a mid-team fight mistake, which is costing them. Interesting,
we're seeing the Mallet Black Cleaver build coming out again from
You know what's going. No.
Is it coming next? Is that what we're going to see next?
I mean, there's people he was going to be able to hit. He's pretty much always going to be hitting 3 people with those 3 tanks on the front line.
That is very true. It is. That's the thing. Ooh, Coscu only got hit
by the Noxiac. Ultimate, yeah, doesn't get the stun down. Betong Yoka onto Zazas here, trying to get the damage out, but the front lines are still holding from both teams. Tudor again is getting damage from the side. Rallas, takes him out, snipes him down with the auto, but it's Betong who's going huge, gets the triple. No quadra for you today, as Coscu comes in with death from the sky. Was not able to pick up his quad or even the pens there onto Impaler.
At this point, Denial is so far ahead that Nihilo just can't take these fights. Every single time they try and engage, the Maokai is just not tanky enough to sit in front of Denial's team composition. Impaler wasn't in the right spot either. He was over the wall, no chance to use his ultimate. And Denial are going to take a Baron from this. As, I feel like that fight is probably the nail in the coffin here from Nihilo.
It's a big one for sure. 14,000 gold now in advances, but let's take a look at what started it all off there. Noxiac coming in with this initial engage.
So Wicked's in the top lane right now, looking for a teleport timing, and Coscu only gets clipped here, so you can see Noxiac starts to even back away. Zazas didn't really have a good target to go on. He only goes on the Rex side at this point. Impaler is walking his way back around the fight here to try and get back in, but there is so much splash damage coming out from Denial that Shoot Up gets absolutely shredded down. He stops to try and output damage, realizes one auto attack is not enough to do anything, and Rallis, from the same kind of play that ended game 1 of this best of 3 series, shuts down Shoot Up again.
Yeah, and the game is not completely done just yet, but those 3 big team fights in a row, pretty damning here for Nihilo. Denial have done such a good job this game. The recurve bow from Wicked. Excellent.
Well, I have to talk to Wicked.
Yeah.
Because I'm open to the idea.
It makes sense on paper.
Look, if they win this game, it's 2-0.
It's true.
So yeah, I'm not criticizing him.
Good stuff. Betong Yaka, meanwhile, has picked up his Fawn Mail now in the jungle. So all those eggs in the chewed up basket, making it just even more difficult for him to do too much in this game. He has eventually now hit his 2-item power spike, but that's met with a 3-item power spike from Mr. Rallis, followed by a 3.5-item power spike from Coscu. And the threats are just mounting up, and this may be the end of the line here. The bottom tower is now being sieged in. How much can Denial do? Can they just crack this like an egg?
I honestly think they can, because right now... whoa, okay, yeah, they definitely can. Yeah. The front line from Nihilo just does not have enough health and resistances to survive this onslaught. This was what this Denial composition is built to do. Ultimate's being used. Shoot Up has his dancing shoes on, but... stays alive, but that's an inhib going down already.
So the inhib is dead. The wild growth is already used on Tudor without really even being in a team fight. It was literally just to help him survive. Jumps onto Wicked, not quite there in time. The last half second secured his recall back to base. And Betong Yoka backing off here as well. So it will be a 4 versus 5 for now. And there's no Baron on the board. DNL in a small death ball here. Mr. Raz may be caught here, just not get hit up by disasters. Oh, follows him all the way into this fight though. Betong Yoko's there to meet him, takes him down where he stands. Mr. Raz does get hit by the ultimate. The Solar Flare comes down and they do lock him up, but do they have the damage? The answer is no. There is nothing really to do here. Cut and Chewed Up is trying his best to deal the damage to the tanks. Now just walking into the back lines trying to kill them too, but is just too far behind. And Mr. Rallet is a one-man army. He's exactly what Nihilo needed in an AD carry in this game, and they just didn't get it. A 4-4-0. The surrender vote comes in. Nihilo throw in the towel, and that is 2-0 over to DNL in this game.
Whew, man, that game was so much cleaner from DNL. The early kills going over to CosQ was exactly what they needed, so that as soon as he got that level 11, the loot was already completed. He already had additional AP on top of it. And they played around it as a composition, both the Kog'Maw and the Corki, so well. And that's a very tough composition to play against when you're putting all your eggs in one basket on Chewed Up. And you're never really going to get the crisp, clean engages. But too many fights that Nihilo gave away in that game that DNL just absolutely capitalized on.
Yeah, and talking about team fights, we're going to take a look at a replay of the first fight that really just started the ball rolling. It's the one at Dragon where Impaler gets to the Dragon.
And so at this point, yeah, we talked about how DNL basically gift Nihilo the Dragon on this play, but this looks a little rough for DNL. Yes, there's health bars that are missing a lot, but that death sentence was just absolutely superb from Wendelbo as he managed to catch it. I mean, that's the difference between a won and a lost fight. You can agree, you can argue that DNL would have just kited back and down and output a lot more damage, but that wouldn't have 100% won them that fight, because that would depend on how much damage Chewed Up was able to get off. But certainly once Chewed Up is out of the picture, team fight's easy. Chewed
off of the picture, yeah. But, I mean, that was the first of, like, what, 4 fights that we saw in a row consecutively that just all went downhill, but looked so great at the very start of them for Nihilo, but didn't work out as it progressed.
I mean, to be honest, Nihilo could never really group when they had the right items to. They were waiting on Jinx to get that second item power spike with getting the extra attack speed, but they never got those team fights. They were always getting poked down beforehand, could never really engage, and when they did, Xaxus was too low, or Impaler was too low. There was just no real clear time to fight, and that's a lot on DNL, actually, ironically denying the ability to fight.
Yeah, and DNL were always proactive in this game. Like, they always made smart plays, and they always punished Nihilo when they tried to challenge as well. So they were always the first ones to punch, and they were so good at pushing their advantages, knowing how strong they were, to just keep going and keep pressuring, and knowing what they could take at what time.
I think a real key thing, though, to take away from this series is how much more confident Mr. Ralles looks, though, at this point. I mean, you remember back to his days on MYM, and compare that to how he played when he was on Super Hot Crew, when they finished 3rd in the regular season. Mr. Ralles in this series just having 2 amazing games as Corki. You just saw him blow up, Chewed Up time and time again. 17, 4, and 13 in those 2 games as Corki. Yeah. Really, really strong performance.
Yeah, I don't remember a time in the LCS where I saw Mr. Ralles Valkyrie flash onto an AD carry and just blow up the backline by himself. We saw that once in the first game. Second game, he just jumped into the backlines as well. It was fantastic to see as an AD carry, and even Corki as well, who's pretty squishy. Yeah,
it was really nice to see from Ralles, but ultimately, that lands us at a point where Team Dignitas Europe and DNL Esports, both 2-0 their way into the European Challenger Series. They will join Reason Gaming, Gamers 2, and the Copenhagen Wolves Academy in the summer split. That means that Maus and Nihilo will play tomorrow. That'll be off broadcast for the last spot in the summer split. Now, you can find a VOD after the game and any other games you've missed on LOLesports.com's VOD Hub.
Yes, so you won't miss a single second of the action. However, tomorrow, our North American counterparts, Freak and Zyrene, will bring you their Challenger Series qualifier, where Magnetic will face Misfits and CLG Black take to the Rift versus Cloud9 Tempest. The NACS Summer Qualifier will start at 3 AM CEST or 6 PM Pacific Time. So that's all we have for today. So from myself, Stress, and the entire broadcast crew, thank you for joining us for the Summer Qualifier, and we'll see you again on the 24th of June for the first week of the EU Challenger Series Summer Split.